I'm Johan de Toit, Counsel of Selborne Chambers. Should disclosure have been made of the secret £25.4 billion loan, and if so, was it adequately done? We direct our attention to only two groups of shareholders today: those who held shares when the circular was published on 3 November 2008 and who would have sold their shares had they known of the loan, and those who acquired shares in pursuance of the prospectus. We are greatly assisted by certain parts of the evidence of Mr. Eric Daniels, whom you will know is the CEO of Lloyd's TSB at the time, evidence which he tendered before the Treasury Select Committee a year after the event. He said, "The disclosures were, again, thorough and appropriate. What we disclosed was that there was emergency funding from the central bank, that it was substantial, that HBOS would not be able to function without it, so we believed the investor could be left with no doubt as to the seriousness of the emergency lending. On some counts, he is right, on others, he is wrong." First, we can gather that the Lloyd's TSB shareholders considered the loan as important and material enough to disclose to shareholders. On their own version, they had a duty to do so. They are absolutely correct in that respect. It makes nonsense of arguments that a £25 billion loan in the total scheme of things was but a drop in the HBOS debt ocean and therefore irrelevant. The directors could not have contended otherwise. A secret loan is granted when a bank suffers from a desperate liquidity or solvency crisis. If made public, a secret loan will probably cause a run on that bank by its depositors and would scare their shareholders. That is what happened in the case of Northern Rock. Put yourself for a moment in the situation where Lloyd's TSB was on the point of taking over Northern Rock, and news of a secret loan to Northern Rock became public knowledge, as indeed it did. Would the Lloyd's TSB share value not have been seriously affected by the rot prevalent in the target bank? Would the Lloyd's TSB share value not have been seriously compromised after 3 November 2008 if proper disclosure had been made of the secret loan to HBOS? Surely it would. Shareholders should have known of the existence of the loan. We have a practical example of the reaction of the stock market in comparable circumstances. The merger was completed with the government becoming a 41% shareholder of Lloyd's Banking Group. LBG started trading on 19 January 2009. On 13 February 2009, the massive loss for HBOS for the year ending 31 December 2008 of some £10.8 billion, much more than the forecasted loss, was announced. LBG would face further write-offs. The share price plummeted by approximately 38% on the news. It is likely that a similar pattern would have prevailed if news of the secret loan to HBOS had been disclosed on 3 November 2008. Let us continue with Mr. Daniels' other contentions. Was he correct that what we disclosed was that there was 1, emergency funding from the central bank, and 2, that it was substantial? He certainly was not. I can give you the assurance that there is no reference in either the circular or the prospectus to the term emergency funding, loan of last resort, or emergency liquidity assistance. Other measures publicly announced are referred to in those documents. Feel free to check my statement. Both these documents are accessible on LAN's website. Please read all 517 pages and let me know if you find any such reference. There's also no reference to be found in the circular or prospectus indicative of the size of the loan, in other words, how substantial it was. But the most disturbing revelation in Mr. Daniels' evidence is that HBOS would not be able to function without the emergency loan. There are other evidence supporting this contention. First, a passage from a National Audit Office report dated 4 December 2009, which stated, as HBOS's position weakened on 16 September 2008, the Treasury considered informing HBOS that it would be closed to new business unless a rescue could be arranged. During the night of 16-17 September, HBOS reached outline agreement with Lloyd's TSB on a possible takeover. It's the end of the quotation, but that is how serious it was. HBOS was bust down and out as a going concern. Mr. Archie Kane, a director of Lloyd's Banking Group and at the time Lloyd's TSB, came to the same conclusion in evidence before a committee of the Scottish Parliament a year later, when he said that HBOS's market basically shut down in 2008 because it ran out of liquidity and funds. In short, it was bust. Mr. Paul Tucker, the Bank of England's Deputy Governor for Financial Stability, told the Treasury Select Committee, and I quote, if we hadn't done it, that is the making of the loan, the cycle would have been a lot worse than it would have been otherwise. This was a classic lender of last resort operation. Within months, the government had massive equity stakes. What that's effectively saying is that these institutions, and he was referring to both HBOS and RBS, were bust. This was a dire emergency. End of the quotation. Most definitely, neither the circular nor the prospectus mentions the risk that HBOS was unable to trade without the secret loan. But what were you told at the time? On 17 September 2008, the FSA said, we are satisfied that HBOS is a well-capitalized bank that continues to fund its business in a satisfactory way. It could not have been further from the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that there is a good case to be made on the basis of loss suffered as a result of negligent non-disclosure by the directors of Lloyd's TSB in the circular, endorsed by Her Majesty's Treasury, and in the prospectus. In the first category of shareholders I've mentioned, the loss is approximately the difference between the actual share price on 3 November 2008, which was 197 pence, and the real value, which is at least 38% less, that is some 75 pence per share. For those claimants in the second category, the computation is somewhat easier. They paid 173 pence per share. When the LBG shares started trading on 19 January, it was already the diluted price, the real value of which was the post-13 February price of approximately 60 pence per share, leading to a loss of some £1.10 per share. We are eagerly awaiting confirmation of these calculations from an expert analyst. We also invite you to visit the website for more detailed information, particularly the letters exchanged with Her Majesty's Treasury and Lloyd's Banking Group and Land's response thereto. Thank you.